Welcome everyone to this evening's Unmute Power to the Poet event. My name is Khwezi Becker, and I am pleased to be your host this evening. I bring to you some really amazing poets from all around the world. I bring to you Kwazi Ndlangisa from South Africa, Aziz Sutenka from Mali, Afrika Dlamini from South Africa, Margo Delete from Belgium, Anonym from Gabon, Lethu Nkwanyana from South Africa, Yuliya Musakovska from Ukraine, Makhafula Vilakazi from South Africa, and Gboyega Odubanjo from the UK. Welcome to you, everybody. It's such a pleasure to have you here this evening. So today we talk about unmuting and bringing power to the poet. We want to highlight things that have so often been filtered out, where we've been told we shouldn't say it in a certain way. We've been censored in all kinds of different ways about issues that we really need to talk about. And that's what these events are about. That's what this festival is about. It's about speaking out and allowing us the space amongst one another to support that speaking out, to give each other the strength to do so. And so here we are this evening. I'm going to get straight into the performances because that's what you're here for. So with our very first performer, Kwazi Ndlangisa from South Africa is a multi-award winning poet from South Africa, a published writer and translator based in Durban, but rooted in the rural areas of Mzimkhulu, KwaZulu-Natal. His writings are a golden thread through Africanism and spirituality and are inspired by his surroundings as well as his inner being. He believes that writing and reading poetry is a perfect channel to collect self back to its true purpose in both the psychological and spiritual realm. Ndlangisa is the author of Collecting Self and has been published in poetry anthologies and online magazines, such as the Salt Like EU Poetry Anthology and Yesterday's and Imagined Realities, an anthology of South African poetry released in South Africa and France. Some of his accolades include, in 2020, he won the Young Voices Poetry, he was first runner-up of the Young Voices Poetry Slam in the National Library of South Africa. And in 2016, he was the best poet at the KZN Young Achievers Award. Please welcome to the virtual stage this evening, Kwazi Ndlangisa. But Kwazi, we need to hear you more. There's that button at the virtual space. There's that button. Almost there. There we go. Yes, here we are. Welcome.
Got it. It's been so nice, like listening to you. So now I even slept, such a great lullaby. Kwazi Ndlangisa, such a great honor to be part of this huge festival. Thank you guys so much. Inkondlo kuqala engizoyenza ithi okay, let me just get to the poem. Kunye kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kuthathu. Uthunywe yini niba wabheke ntala shishi, kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kuthathu. Uthunywe yini niba wabheke ntala shishi, kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kuthathu. Kulele kunye kube kubili ngabe kuyavusana, kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kuthathu. Kulele kunye kube kubili ngabe kuyavusana, kunye kubili kuthathu kubili kuthathu. Unondwayiza uzibala impinda, indlela uyihamba isibini, usawucinga nangalo losuku umnyombo. Pho ke kuyothiwani wena wasekhohlo, ijoka sizobe silithwala ngayo intamo. Sibe singobani ke vele thina belu ukuba singaphika ukufa. Inxeba umkhothwa ngendlela, ingomuso seliyozikhotha eqolo njengonwabu. Lapho esiyovuma khona ucosi, ingomuso liyoziphika isibini. Kunye kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kuthathu. Kulele kunye, kube kubili ngabe kuyavusana. Kunye kubili kuthathu, kubili kunye. Ngizothanda ukufunda inkondlo from my poetry chapbook titled Collecting Self. The poem that I'll read for you is titled The Burning Shack. I am inside the shack. The shack is burning down to ashes. I am on the floor suffocating, begging for a second chance. The wall falls down. I find myself away under the fallen wall. Now I'm outside the burning shack, gasping for life. And everyone is asking, what have I been up to? Also from the book Ngizofunda Inkondlo. So the book is written in isiZulu, but the nkondlo engizoyifunda ibhalwe ngesiZulu, or it's written in English. But the poem I'm about to read is written in isiZulu, also translated in, it's also translated to English because it's an English chapbook. Just bear with me. Sinobudlelwano namanzi. Sinobudlelwano namanzi. Lithe lapho seliyozilahla kunina ilanga. Ileyo naleyo ntuthwane isiyoziphonsa emgodini. Nami ke ngibe sengiqokelela konke okubiza lo mzimba ngekhaya. Inhloso bekuyoziphonsa ezweni lamathongo kwalala. Esitaladini ngihlangane nokukhanya okuthukuswe ethunzini. Umfana omncane lona indlala uyixosha ngokugada izimodi. Kwathi yimina lo. Ngisemi khona lapha ebekade ngimi khona nxashana kuphuma ilanga. Ephethe isithombe asidwebileyo. Kwathi lesi sithombe singikhumbuza emanzini. Lapho engahlala khona izinyanga eziyisishiyagalolunye. Angeke ngakwazi ukubuyela ekhaya nalomzimba, angifuni umame angibone nginje. Ngamfumbathisa amasentshana namibelu wabonga. Wase engipha eminye yale mdwebo yakhe. Engenze ngabona ukujula kobudlelwano ophakathi kwabantu namanzi. Namanzi aphila ngethemba lokuba siyawukubuyela ekhaya njalo uma selibhekisa kwanhliziyo ngiyise. Inkondlo yokugcina titled Love. It's a very short one. Call me love. It's my favorite poem. Call me love. I am more like a poem that ends with ellipses. I never end, but you disappear in your empty space that God created within me in actual fact. Thank you guys so much. Gabon.
Thank you so much. I'll applaud for everyone. I'll be the sound effects. Yo, siyabonga bhuti wami. Our languages are so beautiful and the pictures drawn. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, thank you.
Yo.
Next up, I would like to call on Aziz Sutenka from Mali. Aziz is a key figure in the Malian cultural milieu and one of the precursors of the slam movement in Mali. He was born in Abidjan, Port Bouet, in the Ivory Coast, and Aziz obtained his baccalaureate, I'm learning new words today, baccalaureate in language and literature, and then ventured to his current homeland, Mali. Aziz is the initiator and artistic director of the International Festival of Slam and Humor of Mali, Fish Mali. Aziz also co-created the cultural center Maison Agoratoire, whose objective is to provide an educational and fun environment for young people to learn and create artistically, and offers a great showcasing opportunity, especially for slam. He is convinced that art is a real engine of social inclusion and addresses subjects such as childhood, school, peace, immigration, sanitation, social inclusion, and human rights. And I agree with the sentiment. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Aziz Sutenka.
Thank you very much to invite me to participate. I think it is my two time to participate to this festival. The first time was 2014. This is with the COVID. I think it is the opportunity to participate online. I have today the poems, 3 poems for you. The first is about a mirror, Dungare. It is a performance when I create it. Then it is also the books. Maybe next time I will show you maybe. Dungare laje. Alaje ka famu ka fokantan yerebolo. Dungare laje. Alaje ka famu ka foko mashiti yerebolo. Awianka yere mahoroyata domina. Akelan kono ka fokon ban yerebolo. Anton yerebolo. Dungare laje. Alaje ka famu ka foko mashiti yerebolo. Kabanfula do ikuna kini jo ki yere laje. Odungare kote. Karabuni do ki pare kini jo ki yere laje. Odungare kote. Dungare mbedon so ka finina. Odungare kodo. Nekanye dungare ma. Adamadiani ma ya dungare. Kanunyoya dungare ekodo kata shiblake abokunu kula kanabila wala sa kasinye sigi odugare kodo. Tout a commencé par ces objets sans valeur, ils savent. Un miroir de 20 cm² contre 20 esclaves. Cette ironie est le reflet des systèmes qui nous tam-tam comme ce tam-tam. À force de subir, on finit par s'enivrer, on perd le calme. Fracassée par les conflits égocentriques, l'Afrique verse des larmes dramatiques. Inclinée, elle reflète l'âme tragique qui ne cesse de sucer nos centristes. Regardez là-bas, on pille, on coupe des bras, on viole sous couvert de la religion. Qu'est-ce qu'on a fait pour mériter ces agressions? Ils se disent saints, pourtant ils dénaturent l'image des saints. Ils tuent au nom de Dieu, pourtant notre Dieu est l'incarnation de la paix et de la pitié. Trop de coups d'État dans nos États. Pourquoi des gens souhaiteraient le déclin d'un État? Faites un regard rétrospectif sur le Soudan français, Bas Maliba. Les États sont critiques. Regardez ici, le politique reflète la haine interethnique. Il est la cause de ces guerres civiles archaïques. Dungari Ladje, Aladje ka famuka foka untan yerebolo. Dungari Ladje, Aladje ka famuka foko machiti yerebolo. Le miroir aux alouettes nous prend comme des analphabètes. Le miroir mirobolant dans un monde ambulant n'est qu'une surface polie qui reflète la lumière. Ma mère subit, mais elle ne désespère. L'image qu'il poste sur sa page n'est que mirage. Crime humanitaire, malnutrition, guerre civile. Ma mère n'est pas seulement que ceci. Elle est la terre bénite de Dieu, le berceau de l'humanité. L'Occident s'enivre de son confort, en brisant le miroir de sa mémoire. De gloire gît l'espoir de mon continent épars. Il crée des illusions et des guerres civiles qui n'ont pas de sens. Dungari Ladje, Aladje ka famuka fokamtan yerebolo. Dungari Ladje, Aladje ka famuka fokoma shiti yerebolo. Mon continent est en état d'ivresse. Sa jeunesse se presse. Elle fuit le miroir de sa mémoire, son continent, son pays, son village, et invente un autre reflet. Lorsqu'on sera là à prendre du thé, à rêver d'aller, les actions de nos aïeux seront vaines. Pour éviter que nos enfants subissent les erreurs que nous commettions, il faut que nous prenions le taureau par les cornes. Le développement de nos nations, il faut que cela se fasse. Mais cela ne pourra être effectif sans la jeunesse. Soyons debout pour prendre le gibier par la queue. Ensemble, pour une nation déterminée avec sa jeunesse, pour une Afrique prospère. Dungari Ladje, Aladje ka famuka fokamton yerebolo. Dungari Ladje, Aladje ka famuka fokuma shiti yerebolo. This is a mirror of African society, Malian society. Then I give the hope for every young people in Africa to fight for this right, for everybody right. The second one is about the peace. Everybody now in Mali, there are the difficult problem of ethnical, then there are difficult of a political, in the society, there are many Islamic jihadis, and then the people who are this country. But I want to give the note of the peace for Mali, for everywhere in the world. Fangate dangele, Mali bakela autai. Fangate dangele, Mali bakela autai. Ni Beni, ni Toro Sarabalite, ni Manfusanini, Nko, Beki Jantoi Fasola, ni Mogoya Meko Faso, Oe Jamanae, Mogote Bugotugu Malibala, Sanko Kafaga, Alaka Ben Sabati Malibala. Tout était beau. Les pères fondateurs de ces empires n'étaient pas sots. Beaucoup de jours sont passés. Beaucoup de choses sont écroulées. Une nation multiethnique est créée avec un peuple soudé et enthousiasmé. Aujourd'hui, un air nauséabond bondit et s'immisce dans notre vie. Malgré tout, notre belle nation vit. Malidéon, nous sommes le fruit d'une même mère. Ne mettons pas en péril l'héritage qui nous reste. Il nous teste. Il faut que cela cesse. Fangate dangele, Fangate dangele, Maliba kela auntai. Fangate dangele, Maliba kela auntai. Malibe lombolamba, nka malite bin. Malibe lombolamba, nka malite bon. Ma patrie vient de suer une lame de fond d'une violence inouïe. Elle ne chavirera jamais. Du nord au sud, de l'est à l'est, dans ce monde d'ignorance sans cesse. Les plus faibles sont ignorés, sans défense. Ils ne sont que des pauvres objets. Ce pays est le nôtre. Si la paix vient, la bonne gouvernance s'imposera à outrance. Notre démocratie reprendra sa vitesse de croisière. Un État dans un État est un leurre, une lueur d'espoir s'opère pour le Mali. La parenté à plaisanterie, le cousinage, le sidangouya, l'entraide et la solidarité sont nos valeurs sociétales. Bas Maliba, personne ne pourra mélanger tes pédales. Quel qu'en soit le sang qui coulera de nos entrailles, nous gagnerons la bataille. Fangate dangele, Fangate dangele, Maliba kela auntai. Fangate dangele, Fangate dangele, Maliba kela auntai. Lumumba, allez tuer Yiriba Doye. Gamel Abdenasser, allez tuer Yiriba Doye. Sékou Touré, allez tuer Yiriba Doye. Modibo Keïta, allez tuer Yiriba Doye. Gamel Abdenasser, allez tuer Yiriba Doye. Mahamad Kadhafi, allez tuer Yiriba Doye. Nelson Mandela, allez fana tuer Yiriba Doye. Fangate dangele, Fangate dangele, malikela auntai. Fangate dangele, malibakela auntai. Peace in Mali, peace in Africa, peace in the world. I wish good luck for this festival. Thank you.
Oh. Peace, peace, Uktola. Thank you so much. I'm sitting here with goosebumps. There are comments coming in from Facebook. Yeah, our roots run deep in this continent. I understand so little, but I understand so much through your performance, through your spirit. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yo, the Poetry Africa makes me want to learn more languages. I'm ready. I'm ready. Thank you so much. All right, on to our next poet. Afrika Dlamini from South Africa. Afrika is a spoken word slam poet, an author from Howick in the Midlands, KwaZulu-Natal. Inspired primarily by his father's storytelling, Afrika's writings are a reflection of personal struggles, frustrations, and discontents, the confusions associated with the path of growth, and ultimately finding a way to make amends with self and those around. His exploration of the nature of man, of history, of the ever-looming social ills, and all that time mocks us with, is evident in the social commentary prevalent in his writings. Afrika has published a poetry chapbook titled Shedding and has shared his work on prominent platforms around South Africa, such as the 19th Poetry Africa Festival, welcome back, and several others, such as Poet in a Suit, Cup O' Thought, and Tree of Poetry's music and poetry shows, Give Me 10 Mics, Uhuru Poetry Festival, and Muted Lips, Psalms and Poetry in Motion, Spoken Word, Ekasi Soweto. So from Muted Lips, we go to unmute. Please unmute yourself with Afrika.
Sanbonan.
Welcome.
I'm gonna get right to it. My father used to reminisce like a well-traveled storyteller. His stories were archived between the wrinkles of his time. Sadly, there were stories of suffering, longing for solitude, stories of reason, yearning for a bit of truth. How his words would often hang something heavy. How he would casually make jokes about death. He would swear he's trying to resuscitate a room full of dying people. His honesty was too blunt to speak the least of. An ashy voice, a rusty cough, a vintage heart, it sounded like a boombox when it beat. A bundle of wires for a beard. An armor for shoulders that hung his towering physique. My father was a simple man, a two sides to a coin kind of man. And I am yet to meet anyone who can adjust so easily to the piling weight of his grudge, just as long as he can keep him. So what gives in this world to men with battered souls, sheltered by a falling home? Far from me to bite my tongue, a part of me blames my grandmother. She was tough as nails on coffined secrets. On her deathbed, she laid refusing my father's redemption. And so I grew to watch my father rocks himself to sleep. How he tosses between his worries, discontent with the withers of time like a peeling antique. And after his passing, I realized that for some time, yes, our chest can become abandoned buildings. That for some time, the death of a parent can make ghost towns out of the living. Now, my father's last attempt at leaving was learning how to forgive his mother. We have all scraped our childhood floors, searching for our lost innocence. My mother taught me not to use the word broken so often. She said, some things are not as bad as they seem. Some men have learned to walk as they bleed. You have known your father as a man who treads midnights to their fall. Do not ask him to bear the logic for the blisters under his feet. Rather seek what it means to inherit his sins. For you know of journeys traveled by men who hold the sunrise at gunpoint. Do remember their names when their tombstones begin to weather. So, as the profile describes, I deal a lot with the issue of men and mostly of the boy child. I believe that you have to heal the boy child first, and then the man will heal thereafter. So there's a short poem I just would like to read. It's aptly called Wounded Man. A wounded man is a beast that, unbeknownst to itself, seeks healing by wounding others. His scars run deep and down the stunted spine of his childhood, up the navel of his hollow manhood. They spew in a rage of long dried blood clots. They fester in appalling violence, and they bask in all the collected rot, becoming indelible blemishes on the very fabric of society. All right, I'll do my last one, and yeah, I'll enjoy the rest of the show. In my family, we are guests in a house that offers no refuge. On couches of discomfort, half seated like we have already overstayed our welcome. And surprisingly, the elders are angered by how we wander off and stray so much. Nothing ever calls us back home after dark. And none of us can even recall the warmth of a home in this house. A matriarch divided. They raised us at odds with one another. To my beloved cousins, at times I mourn our curious, playful youth, when we used to share all there was to consume: food, playthings, that thin slab of mattress with our arms outstretched to the bare floor, with our dreams pressed against our tiny chest. I mourn the lights that inside of us that dimmed, because now all we do is mock one another when one's cup of shortcomings runneth over and spill. I suppose we are no longer children. I suppose we have long learned that fragile things break. I mean, we have stopped eating from plastic plates. And even the mere exchange of dialogue between us, it crouches on limping forgiveness. Now, I've been a vagabond for as long as my age has permitted. I have found a home around the arms not of my kin. Quite it strange when blood becomes runny as water. And for all the offerings we have slaughtered for our ancestors, we seem to chase them back to the hills with the clatters of our conflicted spirits. We submit more offerings to usher them back home, only to have our hands at each other's necks again. I figured that maybe not all our misfortunes are curses. Some are concealed wounds of family feuds old as the firstborn's wisdom tooth. On the day that my uncle got married, For the first time, a gathering, not to mourn a death, but for a celebration. My neighborhood street was littered with my family's joy. The matriarchs, they wore and changed into 3 outfits that day, as if to soak each with all the aroma and its white smoke, and all the memories made in their drunken stupor, and all the good stories to be told. Their bodies danced as if to capture every fleet of this moment, as if everything could have been orchestrated for their own special days. And I wondered, why is it so difficult for this family for a long time to love one another? And for those growing up with looming defiance in their eyes, may you learn to grow up and open a welcome mat for your kin. Offer them a seat that holds no past discomforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Buddha. Thank you for offering us a seat at the table of your healing. Thank you so much. Yeah. You see poets you know, and then you hear things and you go, do I know you? No, I'm meeting you for the first time. Lovely. It's lovely. Next, I would like to welcome to the virtual stage Margo Delete from Belgium. Margot loves poetry, photography, and philosophy, and aims to bring these passions together in her work. She is currently pursuing a master's degree in philosophy at KU Leuven and writes on philosophy of poetry and critical phenomenology. Margot won several Flemish poetry prizes, including the Fredes Poëzie Prize, Soet, and the Literary Prize of Sint-Truiden. She published on Notulen van het Onzichtbare, excuse me, that's German pronunciation, but I hope it's close, Op Roerplanken, Menda Magazine, and klimaatdichters.org. Among others, she performed the Kotrote, Zin in Sommer, and Dichters in Prinsentuin and Brussels Planetarium Poetry Festival. Welcome to the virtual stage, Margo Delete from Belgium.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for saying all those Dutch words as well.
I'm here to learn. Thank you for giving me the chance.
I translated some poems from Dutch to English. This is the first one. You switch between carrying your body like a child and being your body like a child. On your thigh, there always lies the shadow of a foliage. Then to have the guts to ask to love it, but not look. You say being a feminist is hard, and I'm only woman in your hands, so just let it be for now. 2. We're sitting in a small, hot bath. I think about a line from Sylvia Plath, that there are many bad things, but few bad things that follow us into a hot bath. Something like that, I'm not sure. It was prose, at least. The exact words do not matter that much then. We laugh, we do not mean it. You, of course, have read all of her poems, even though that's not cool anymore. You care about cool, but not in poetry. Then you care about nothing but poetry. She killed herself too. Not that you kill yourself, of course, you not. You get what I mean. She made her children sandwiches and put them around the table. After that, she clocked the notch underneath the kitchen door and turned on the gas. You come home from a day of moving and carry the last box up the stairs. After that, you cut in your hand to practice. I always found it funny that Pla didn't cut her veins in the bath. That would have been too poetic. Like all her problems dissolved in the bath, so did her last one, her. Three. Losing you was like winner, said on the cards. I don't know who chose that. Family, probably in the end, they know you the least. Losing you was like losing winter. Going to read a couple of poems in Dutch as well, and I'll describe them afterwards. Ik gebruik zowat alles als bladlegger. Lepels, foto's, gedachten, jou, die. Want er is niets dat een verhaal mooier onderbreekt dan wilke. This poem is about the little things that you put in between the pages of the story you're reading and about disrupting the story. Mijn appelsap van eigen boom en mooie doos is beschimmeld. En ik voel me niet meer volwassen nu. Ik probeer de borden proper te houden, maar soms denk ik, over 20 jaar brandt de aarde kapot en waarom zou ik dan borden wassen? En dan kom jij. En houden we elkaar als twee zijders met hetzelfde blad, twijfelen tussen alles is nu en nu bestaat niet vast. This poem is about how I'm feeling amongst climate disaster, very current events. This poem is about poetry, the next one. Qu'est-ce que la poésie? Je ne sais, pas op met rennen aan de rand van het taalbad. Het wateroppervlak is gelukkig enkel dat, oppervlakkig. Er is geen taal die aan de taal onderligt. Spraakwater, spraakwater, spraakwatervallen, spraakwatervaller, de taal komt, bekomt, als een golf, herhaling en verschil. The last poem is about someone's smile. Het licht lacht op je gezicht. De zomer doet met jou wat een museum doet met een schilderij en een gedicht met woorden. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was so lovely. And that's another beautiful thing about poetry is that you can say so little and there's a whole story that's underlying there. So thank you for your storytelling. Thank you for your stories. Next, I'd like to welcome to the virtual stage another RSA baby, Lethu Nkwanyana, who is a spoken word artist, a writer, a thespian, and a wordsmith. His journey with poetry began in 2012 at his local church, and he has a flamboyant yet subtle way of delivering his craft. Fascinated by literature, philosophy, God, and performing arts, Lethu has been featured on an international showcase, Poets in Autumn, in 2019, one of the biggest poetry tours in the world. He has also won the South African Poetry Award for Best Poet and was a participant in an American Digital Slam in 2020, Poetry University, which is also an international platform. He has run poetry workshops in Guaduguza and co-written a theater piece, Ushanelo. Lethu is the founder of Let the Poets Speak and Let the Poets Slam, which is now going to become a provincial slam tour. With Lethu, let the poets speak. Ngena putingena.
I'm unmuted now. I will speak.
Unmute. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes. My first piece is newspapers. Amaphephandaba ayopha. Atshete izindaba ezisindayo. Ohlwini lenzalabantu akekho osindayo. Endlini sithela ubulongo phansi kuzosinda ba. Kithina mabhungu akunamunye okhuzayo. Uma ngiphequlula kulamakhasi eyisematheni kayinambitheki. Amaphephandaba ke ayopha. These newspaper articles bleed stories of wounded women, and we men have become the valley of the shadow of death. We are constantly taking away breath. It is dark, and the sun's rays cannot raise our sons, nor erase our sins. The headlines of this article is of an uncle who speaks with his knuckles, and the other page is of a couple where the man's fist feast on his fiancée, her flesh is left gaping, and her body is now stitched together in stories of all that she's been through. Her cracked lips still forge a smile. She's trying to hide all of her pain, yet the walls of this house holds a lot of secrets. So silence slowly settles, and the neighbors now speak in whispers and claim it is none of their business, and they remain silent. We remain silent. The public remained silent. Even the victim remains silent. Yet her eyes scream for rescue. Help me. On the Sunday Times is a pastor. He alters his character. The altar still stinks of his sins. His intentions are sinister. It is sacrilege to use sermons to seduce. Who knew that predators can also pray? Who knew that predators can also pray? Newspaper articles are read. Daily newspapers bleed. Red is the color our sisters swallow. To murmur is a language taught to daughters, and some fathers murder mothers. Maybe martyrs are all these women we read about on the newspapers, and the newspapers bleed. A war bruise at the end of every clench. A woman is bruised. What is this thirst we are trying to quench? The newspapers bleed. Let the poet speak. That was my first piece. My second piece is the piece that got me into Poetry Africa when I won the slam. Siyala ukufiphala isithombe sikazamcolo wezinhlamvu abacindezeli besikhapha ngevolovolo. Besingazi ukuthi ukubeletha ubhakha emhlane ukubeletha izinkinga isimemo sokuthwala umhlabathi ngesifuba. Nathi besifisa ukuthwala imiyezane njengabo bonke abafundi. On our anthem, Gebertes is an Afrikaans translation for a mountain stuck on our throat as language. With faith of a mustard seed, we wished to remove it back to the ocean from whence it came. Yet they plucked out my mother's tongue out of my mouth, fed me the struggle and expected me to taste freedom. How do I digest a dialect forced onto my throat? A numb epiglottis hangs itself at the roof of my windpipe. Parts of me are constantly committing suicide. Ask Van Wyk. He hanged himself. He slipped on a soap. Parts of me are constantly committing suicide. I remember how the air was heavy with protest and the students swarming the scene, firearms causing chaos out of its slumber. German shepherds let loose to herd black sheep. The street becomes an altar, the black man a sacrifice. A necklace is no jewelry when a tire is wrapped around your neck. scream out a prayer, black man. Skin sizzling, burnt like incense, back to ashes. This is our offering. Death is our offering. Mbuyisa Makhubu carried a corpse, and now we are slowly learning how to carry the spirit of Hector Peterson. Let the poet speak. This is my final piece. My final piece is titled Lies. Action speaks louder than words, but now words have verbs, and verbs are doing words. So what your thoughts, they become words, and those words might just be lies. And lies lie warmly under our tongues, tucked in our taste buds as they decorate our everyday conversations with them. A clouded perception, deception of an eye patch that covered the vision of leaders as pirates looking for treasure. They bend whole day, digging holes that might consume them with spades in their palms and the blade hitting the ground, yet they still have broken backgrounds, and those that know the truth spat on the ground, made mud to restore sight, Christ on crucifix crucified, but they believed a lie instead. Bent truth tossed only comes back as a boomerang. They've got hooks for hands. We are being caught in a sickle grip. Oval iris, horizontal blink, they're spineless, slithering into people's minds, hissing sounds of hypnosis in a trance. From our fingers, licking the juice of the forbidden fruit, hoping that eyes will open, but we turn over a blind eye. The gullible, believing baseless lies with their judgment stuck on an illusion orchestrated by double-tongued serpents. Flickering sharp words that cut us spiritually, blood slowly dripping from our skins, being inked as the pages of our blank brains are being occupied by nonsense. But we did not feel the pain. Maybe not yet. Adrenaline rushed. We did not fight nor flight. We remained rigid and accepted spasmodically what we are being fed. Our true being is now recessive. We are regurgitating what we have engulfed. A lie is now dominant. Disgusting, disguised skeletons. Odor of decaying flesh subsumed by glowing coats. Beautiful speeches and quotes. Our emotional frowns are masked by a physical smile. Wolves are now sheep. Beware, they are amongst us, and they are more equal than others. It reminds me of George Orwell's Animal Farm, when pigs looked like men and men were pigs. They were all the same. Maybe two legs were never good, as lies lie warmly under their tongues, tucked in their taste buds, as they decorate their everyday conversations with them, these lies. Let the poet speak.
And the poet spoke. Lalela. Kumnandi like hi. Thank you. Yer, kumnandi. Yeah, okay. All right. We're on a roll. Thank you. Now, next up, I would like to call Yuliya Musakovska to the virtual stage. Yuliya was born in Lviv, Ukraine. She is a Ukrainian poet and translator and a member of PEN Ukraine. She has published 5 collections of poems, and her works have been published in numerous magazines, almanacs, and anthologies, and translated into English, German, Spanish, Swedish, Lithuanian, Hebrew, Polish, and Bulgarian. Yuliya translates poetry from Swedish and has published her translations from Thomas Tranströmer. She has also translated modern Ukrainian poetry into English. She is a winner of numerous literary awards in Ukraine, and she is here with us tonight. Welcome to the stage, Yuliya Musakovska.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to virtually meet you all and, in fact, travel from Ukraine to South Africa, at least in a virtual manner. So greetings from Lviv, which is a city in Western Ukraine. And my first message today is on the importance of unity and mutual support among women. So during the lockdowns, there is an increased pressure on women who are, despite our striving for gender equality, still the main caregivers and homemakers. So we need to put more focus on our sisterhood during these times and not forget the need to support each other. So my first poem today is a kind of warning. This is a poem about a certain village. It's a fictional village, but some of you may recognize the troublesome things that are happening there and the ways of the women who live there. I will start by reading it in Ukrainian, and then I will follow up with the English translation. У жінок цього селища місія непроста. Пильнувати, щоб жодна сестра не зганьбила Христа. Ані мужа, ні роду, городу, худоби, двора. І ногами не вперлась, коли помирати пора. У жінок цього селища вдача, покірна і легка. Тихо ріжуть корову, яка не дає молока. Тихо трусять колиску під співи нічної сльоти. Тихо судять сестру, що не вміє упряжку тягти. У жінок цього селища в грудях осине гніздо. А на тім'ї пташине, а в тілі нудьга до судом. Очі цілять без промаху, дбаючи ревно про те, щоби раптом від рук не відбилась яка із сестер. У жінок цього селища вічна по колу хода. Білі плями на сірому, крижма, віночок, фата. І невдовзі остання сорочка найлегша за всі, аби вільно ступати у ній по небесній росі. У жінок цього селища змінюються імена, і спливають обличчя, і дні висихають до дна. І насуплена дівчинка із ланцюжком золотим заступає на варту, яку їй до віку нести. And now the English version, for which I am thankful to Olesya Khromichuk and William Becker, who live in the UK, who have translated it. The women of this village have a difficult job to ensure that no sister dishonors the cross or her husband, her household, her livestock or home, that she won't drag her heels when it's time to pass on. The women of this village are humble and quiet. They shake cradles quietly in the singing cold night, gently slaughter a milk cow that can't produce much, and an unruly sister is quietly judged. The women of this village carry wasps in their chests, birds' nests on their heads, and longing in their breasts. Their eyes shoot without missing, and they zealously prey on their sisters, should any of them wander astray. The women of this village walk a circular trail, white stains left on gray, a baby's shawl, a wreath, a veil, then a shirt that is lightest of all and is new, to tread freely in it through the heavenly dew. The women of this village carry ever new names, and their features will fade with the drying out of days, and a small, frowning girl with a long chain of gold takes their place to stand guard till she too will grow old. My second message today is about the importance of remembering who you are and where you come from, no matter the circumstances. The importance of your background, your heritage, your origin, and your roots. For myself, it's very important because I have a multicultural background. It's mixed Ukrainian, Russian, Polish, and Armenian. And for me, this is a very important topic. Also, as some of you may know, Eastern Ukraine has been invaded by Russia. This war was never officially announced, but there are thousands of victims, dead and wounded, and people who were forced to leave their homes and step into nowhere. At some point, all of us in Ukraine were preparing for a full-scale military invasion from Russia, preparing for the worst. And then the talk started about preparing an emergency bag with the most needed things in it. My second poem is about such a bag and the things that are important. So first in Ukrainian. Що у твоїй тривожній валізі? Питають мене. Як це? Ти ще не склала свою тривожну валізу? Як же я маю знати, що в ній, якщо я не відчувала раніше тривоги такої пронизливої? Похапцем надолужую, що ж я візьму собі? Щітку стару до волосся, дірку в голові, ягідні плями на майці дитячій, Любельщину, Кавказ і Сибір, зіткнення у Львові, скручене дротом пістрявим, що мені замість жил, що пружинить всередині, вживлене в землю коріння, не відпускає, тягне глибоко, речі з рук випадають, руки, мамо, діряві мої, ось обірветься цей дріт, і мене не стане. Нащо валіза ця? Кілька вицвілих фотографій, аби діти могли розрізняти свій голос крові. Ліки, вода, ксерокопії документів, радіо, в якому ледве жевріє, ледве дихає, рок-н-рол. So in English, this poem is titled Emergency Bag, and it's included in the anthology called The Frontier that was published in London for several years ago and was prepared by Anatoly Kudravitsky, the translator and poet who lives in Dublin, who has a Ukrainian origin. So, emergency bag. What's in your emergency bag? They ask me. How can it be that you haven't packed it yet? But how can I be sure what to put in it if I never was so anxious before? Now I am hastily catching up. What to take with me? An old hairbrush, a hole in my head, a child's t-shirt stained with the berry juice, Lubelske, the Caucasus, and Siberia. They all clash in Lviv, wrapped up in motley wire, the analog of my tendons and of a spring inside me. The roots buried in the ground won't let go of me, pull me down. Things slip out of my hands. They are all thumb's mother. If this wire breaks, I will cease to exist. A few faded photos won't take too much space. They will help the children to discern the voice of their blood. Also medicines, water, photocopies of documents, and a radio in which lukewarm rock and roll is barely breathing. Thank you. So let's remember who we are and what is important to each of us. Let's support each other as humans and as poets worldwide. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Yuliya. And peace to you. Peace to Ukraine.
Peace.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, if I claim not to be inspired to take my pen and write more poetry tonight, I'll be lying. I need to go back and write. Thank you. Next up, we welcome Makhafula Vilakazi. Going by the name Makhafula Vilakazi, the title of one of his poems. Matodzi Gift Ramashia grew up in Chiawelo, Soweto. His poetry is a fusion of Tsotsitaal, English, Zulu, and Sotho, interspersed with an uncompromising depiction of township life and the exploration of issues which affect his community, such as unemployment and crime. Makhafula has performed at various events such as the Butsotso Poetry Festival and Jozi Spoken Word Festival, Speak the Mind Arts Alive Festival, Be Connected International Festival, Music Mayday Festival, Poetry Africa, and the Word and Sound Literary Festival. Welcome back to Poetry Africa with Makhafula. Take it away.
Nyabonga. Thank you, Nyabonga. The first poem is called Jealous Bastard. Bito ramina John. John Palish. John Makatakata. John Inhliziyo Ensile. John Langalbaleli. John Gedlela. John Monungfuna umsebenzi. Udumo lami ukuzonda into enhle. Walobola, ngiyolobola noma ubani. And angina problem nawe Dladla yazi ngikuzondela nje ukuthi isithakazelo sakho sihle. Ufela nje ukuthi uthengele umakoti wakhe ikhist. Angisakukhulumiswa. Mara mawuthandaza nami ngiyathandaza. Ngikhule ngingaphezulu kwakho wena ngeke ungihlule ngelife. Maqeda ukugeza nami ngiyogeza. I-success kadaki. I-success kadaki ngizulisa amaphathisini wasehostela. Nginegotiate nama-deposit weyimfene elibalele. Ebusuku ngurothe ekhetnisini lase-dining room online endabeni zakho wena. Ngizwile ukuthi Tuesday uthengele umntana wakhe itekile Ivy Park elimnyama. Thursday wami ngiyomthengelela imhlophe nelimnyama gcwala. Ngizokushanga egrill ngezenyofa wena. Ngizibhekise esayidini mawudlula ngale pholonyana lakhe elimnyama usumngane nami wena. Kingdom rise and tall. Uzoyizwa lento yami. Kanjani uthenga iteki ungenadladla? Kanjani ube nejezi engenalo? Kanjani ube nepholo elimhlophe ngithandaze kanje? Lizochayisa shema wangazi wena. Ngugedlela zandla ezibovu mina. Ngizokumonela ngize ngiyopacama nogogo wami Avalon. Awendawo wena. Ngizokubamba ngomoya ngakuyeke. Ngikhule nawe kumele ufele sprayed. Ngithi noma ngalithenga ledladla lakhe leseBryanston oluphuphayo. Okusala uzongcwatshela sprayed and ngeke ungibone da mina angicwabi ibhari. Uyabona le ncosa 7 abathi thola ama distinction ay6 ingikhumbuza mina kanjani kawo nami bengida mfethu ngeke ngakulela holo ngathola certificate esilahlekile le ncosa ngiserious kawo ngizofuna ngize ngithola ngeke ngihlule ngemaths ngifuna ukumdlula umkhulu wami ngeminyaka le bhokate medium yinhle ngifuna ukuyishisa ngemistake enhle kule medium wayesimala kamnandi siyo wayengenankani and mina ngeke ngidlule ngelife mina ngeke iphasi abet my phasi abet ngibuyele ngoya angeke ngidlule ngelife ngishadile ngizoyidivorce ukuthi amazinyo yami mhlophe ukudlula wami. And ngikhuliswe umama nobaba ngikhule ngisutha ngivelile ngoya ngikhule ngicule khona sesontweni ngiyarintinta nje mina ngizalwa nginomona futhi nomama mwashi ukuthi bengikompete nosisi wami ngebele mina ngina 10 bengidefend ibele ngifuna ukubuyela enkonzweni ngibhora nje ukuthi bathandaza uNkulunkulu ngikhona ngaphandle ngijabulile ngaphakathi ngiyafa ngakha ama room ngwabhidlize ngithi maqeda ukugeza nami ngiyogeza man uBlack Coffee angeke ngihlule ngoku-DJ yami mina anesandla esi1 uBrenda Fassie angeke acula ukudlula mina uMesi angeke angimake uBushiri angeke abaleke ukudlula mina uRampulukeng angeke ngidlule ngokubhala noRamaphosa wakhona angeke ngihlule ngamanga mina ngugedlela kayi1 mina nguJohn Chop Dog umkhulu wami wancwatshwa ngeCascadeli Brown nami ngizolithenga amangifa enhle ngifuna ithela ezongithungela i-overall efana nse neka-Kid Tankile nalomgogo wakho ngifuna ukudlula ngokukhonkotha enhle kwayona le poem ngifuna ukuyirekhoda manje imix manje iphume manje angeke ngihloma Borisa mina ngugedlela kayi1 gedlela kayingakhi ayi1 kayi2 esabhoza like the next poem is words. Words do not build, do not break, do not anger. Words do not love. People love. Words do not betray, do not kill. Words cannot forget us or mask us or hide us as black monkeys. And without arms, words do not protect, do not agree. And being just words, they do not shoot. I hate words. They are words of truth. They are not the truth. They are not even lies. They are just words without land. Sechwayo was not a man of words, nor was Makado. In fact, Mushosho could not even speak. And yet, it was with words that Azania was married with looters in community of no property. And like Angchele, Omupu Mandela, who lost all on the West Simtandai, well, and a black pecand, or lost Malang Amasheta Tatazela, or Tanda Economy Petro Makaka, or Tanda Mapon free into poverty, or Tanda Onjebes Kanikas Le Afrika, Omup, Ausek, Ukolil, uxolile isayiti lakho mina ngikaxoli ngisayibambe la yasemandulo angeke ngilale nesithi endlini angeke ngihleke nesehlala phethe ngokwami angixolile abantu abangaxolisanga mina ngihlanye mina nginandaba nepeace ipeace ayilayita ugesi ulayitwa Eskom makathanda anginandaba ne-food security mina ngilambe kumanje usiyakolisi vele ngiyamfrostana but I cannot spring a bog mina I cannot die inside a square I cannot kiss a bua or toto and dance to the same song I do not want to shosholoza anymore or constitutionally prostitute my birthright for Hong Kong rainbows with no whites just wilting black rays across a sky of stolen treasures I do not want to blood-based empowerment anymore I do not want to tender or plead on behalf of thieves to Rupert of a step wounds to dig treasures while singing your song of a piece of poverty amidst the rhythm of Marikana bullets dancing inside my skull in a movie about a country built on magic. I do not want to white anymore. I do not want to rainbow without bread. I do not want to hate Cecil and anthem with his children, to shoot off Mayor and dance to Mikasa, to ban sparrows and mourn the deaths of clerks, to hate Eugene and thank Slovo, to joke and beg, to smile at my killer, to forgive while bleeding. I do not want to Musi and Malima anymore or reconcile from inside Middleburg coffins, to job for your song, to slave for your fund, your shirts, your dance, your globe capturing smile, your promise, your Madiba magic. I have buried it to the bones of my brothers in a shallow grave under the sweltering heat of the southern Marikana sky because words do not break chains, Dad. I do not want to South Africa anymore. I want to Azania of no words, of death, of birth, and learning white poison, white demons drowning in the Atlantic, Azania of exploding colonial bondages, Azania of no words, of no prayer, of no fists in the air anymore, Azania of beaming black smiles, black, beautiful, and borderless. I do not want to white anymore. The last poem is Isicathulo Esibomvu. Nginesicathulo esibomvu sipolishwa ngegazi leqaqa. Umkhawulo wami umnyama ukhanyiswa ngekhandlela. Ingubo yami yakhiwe ngoboya benyathi. Nginenkomishi engiphuza ngayo imihudo yezenzo zobunzila busuku. Okwethu owangibelethe emakhazi untombi zodidi elokuphangela uCynthia uvele loli eyakhe imidlwane ifika amakhaza ngezandla uvele loli eyakhe imidlwane ilala endleke elokishi igeza ubuso ngonyembezi likanini igwiji lenhlamvu yomtariyane ngiyalibona esithombeni somlilo sibindi uyabulala sibindi uyaphilisa sibindi wambulala ubaba sibindi wambulala umama ongizalayo sibindi unegazi isicathulo sami esibovu umhlaba usibhekile sishoda ngopolish ingubo yami yoboya benyathi imakhazi inokokufa nomjuluko wenswela uChivozika correctionally umgolokudu uzenzo zomcrown azikhulunywa ungwebevu umshoshovu parole break and ordinary umahereza zaxebo kumabhampu ekekela unswela ugazi lomgolokudu uzenzo zomcrown azikhulunywa ungwebevu umdaka ishathi umshoshovu uphenye iBhayibheli ngomuno oxaza igazi schedule left right and correctional center anginasivi nginamacala angihlose kumbulala umedemo mina ngifuna nje ukumthatha ngebomvu ibhathi ngimzuma emva kwesibuke erobotini ngimsikaze ngehlela imdaka ngimkhumbula amaketanga ibhek namagajethi kube ngakimi ngimvonce ngikhetheze imali yami endleleni ngimshiye enqone emaquleni avukelazo usizi lokuphelezela abantwana abalambile esikoleni angihlose kumbulala angimazi lo mfazi weqaqa umemezelana uyangithusa sibali wenzani evalidate lo muntu sibali udubula ugazi lo muntu sibali ungikomba ngaphandle sengingaphakathi uyangihlanyisa sibali akapreseke sibali akanembeke sibali lethi ngumabo buyabenyathi sibali ngimphula isikopho ngimdonsela emgwaqweni ngimhudula ehlathini ngisolukhopa bakefasteren ngesilambu sishaya lento kakhulu wena best driver so celebrate indondo emdaka emaphathisi nobomu nogolgolide kugcwala amakhabethe ezalikazi ngempuphu no-oil silalobude sikhohlwe inkinga zophephela waphetha ama-gadgets angithi sibali siphi sports bag sonto ezijewelari khohlwa ngogazi sibali ufe njengesotsha emehlweni wentombi zomjondolo efele esitathweni esibomvu ekuncinza okungokwakhe ngena la idlu left la jayisa lo muntu phitha le-stop sign ngena oncoming sibali ungivulela iwindi ngithusala besari ngengwambo buyabenyathi esami isidumba sikuyosala emakhishini siphopola ngemofotashi sikhafulela amaphoyisa sifashwe ngesotweni elishini 11 njengenja njakagogo amumphefumula ngeke uyosala emapavement into engani yangigulisa angiboshwa angifi angisali sibali iphini ikehle ngigove kevishisa ngiyayithengisa ngiphethe ihlamba ngesokudla ngesokunxele kwasefa ngesandla sezulu impilo soyivonqa mashesha sophilo kwesikhashana mina nawe isigcino ejele naphansi nokufa zwile macala sothenga injabulo ngegani sojava ngomduvo nesidumbu ebhuthini abethi abantwana bozalwa ngejinji yomlungu sokuvama kumabhebheji wencwadi ixilongo kamdala isiphethe amadla bhazi asijuyishe fucked up okunye senzizwa indlela yesisu okuningi senzizwa indlela yomoya urongo usuthi oright isilambile macala isicathulo sami esibovu trigger fandakhe favor magenge moya wami wezulu olunonya long nose silver revolver mzimba omuhle oshelelayo thuluzi lami elicula kamnandi lithi kenqa lithi kenqa
Yo, the art of words. The art of words. Siyabonga but Makhafula. Thank you so much. Yeah. And to close off our poetry evening, we move to Gboyega Odubanjo from the UK. Gboyega is a British Nigerian poet born and raised in East London, UK. He attended the University of East Anglia and in 2018 completed an MA in creative writing. He is the author of 2 poetry pamphlets, While I Yet Live and Auntie Uncle Poems. Gboyega is also an editor of the poetry magazine Bath Mag, a member of the Roundhouse Poetry Collective and a Barbican Young Poet alumni. Please welcome to the virtual stage our last poet for the evening, Gboyega Odubanjo.
Thank you very much. Hello, and thank you to everyone who's read. Thank you for inviting me here. Cool. The first poem I'm going to read is called World Parent. All the Nigerian aunties and uncles are holidaying in Dubai. They're eating only Nigerian food and talking only to their drivers. They're posing as they give thanks, WhatsApping everybody, claim it's a kind of home that doesn't know their names, so can't wish death. Say they like it because it holds no notions of them. For example, all Nigerians are liars who spin tales from imported fabrics. It was a Nigerian man who first discovered Dubai. The whole world, in fact, came descending with pockets full of sand and all manner of the earthly. Where there was water, took the sand, dashed it this way, that, and where it landed, stepped. Continued in this fashion so as to form plain plateau, etc. to everything he named and added names that no one would ever say. He liked the sound of his own voice. He preyed on land, his and of himself, imagined it profitable, dreamt of land black as oil and dark-skinned suns, carved his name in tall letters everywhere, forgot how to spell it, improvised, stepped back, looked at his work, this, and was large and proud. Seeing their son's work, his parents think, this, for why? They wonder if they bound him too much in freedom and comfort. They think their son's hands spoiled, soft and pencil friendly. They think instead of lawyer, doctor, this. They tell their friends of him, call him architect, do not say of what. Cheers. This next poem I'm going to read is called Oil Music and is about oil companies. Oil music. Call it a love song. I'll get the bathtub ready. I'm in, we in ceramic. Let's say black. I'm BP, your Shell, we all in, we in the black, we both in a barrel, call it a village, we both in the pumping, the people, no get no nothing, no crabs in the river, no periwinkles to pick, no day they pass where they know they cry, suffer this kind, suffer like this. We no care for them, I just want you to seep, blacken my lot. This poem is called Poems with Drums. On my birthday, my aunties bring me gold, frankincense, and shea butter. I want to write a poem and I want everyone to like it. I don't want to stop until I've got all of the black out of my greys. A friend told me that the problem with birthdays is that you are forced to think about yourself in the third person and most people don't care. It is all noise. Here, I imagine light drums in the background. In this poem, a loved one is almost dead and we are all in their living room watching a recording from their 50th birthday and they are dancing and I don't know what it is like to look upon oneself and be so removed. In this poem, a stranger on a train tells me to get out of this country the first chance I get. In an earlier poem, I am a boat and you are an ocean, more drums. Not understanding a prayer is no reason not to say amen. It's just noise. I remember being told that if I needed to write about love, then I never needed to actually say love. I don't think that I ever need to actually fall in love because I've already watched all of the sitcoms and all of the actors have already done the loving for me. I think all that I need is to start talking and to never stop. It will all just be noise, drums, louder now. In this poem, maybe it needs more drums, more drums. I want to write a poem that is partially muted on primetime television, that is a group of young men dressed in black dancing aggressively on stage that is nothing but a mouth of chicken and Hennessy trading substance for melody. My mother said, boy, I pray you don't embarrass me. I want to write about disillusion and accepting and being tired and just drums. Cheers. I'm going to read one more poem. It's called Grace, which was my grandmother's name. I'm told that my grandfather liked to travel and that wherever he went, he would write his name in big letters into the ground. Last week, someone from New Jersey contacted me claiming that they had found his name written into one of their ports. There was a general agreement as to the amount of times my grandfather wrote his name into the ground, but nobody can be certain because there are too many ports. My grandfather had 7 wives, and my grandmother was, amongst other things, my grandfather's first wife. When I ask, I am told that she, having failed to predict her own firstness, built herself into an anchorite made from her wedding gown and Yoruba words which all translate poorly. When I ask, I am told that many of the words that would describe my grandmother translate poorly, and so I am told that she was quiet and she died young quietly, and that it just happened like that, and that there is not really that much to be said about it. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much for the window into your world and your mind and your spirit. Thank you to each and every one of the poets this evening. It has been such an experience for me, and I wish we had the live audience here to give you all the applause you deserve. But I am here thanking you on their behalf and on my behalf, and I appreciate your presence. I wish you light and greatness in your journeys ahead. Okuhle kodwa, may good fortune and peace be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.